Sometimes people will be in a job for decades and they feel like that's the only option, but they know there's something burning. There's a passion, the desire for more. I took a class recently, an AI course at one of the colleges here, and one of the teachers talked about it not so much as artificial intelligence, but augmented intelligence. There's a misconception when it comes to servant leadership that it's about just laying down and allowing everybody to tell you what to do and you just acquiesce to everyone's needs. And that's far from the truth.
Good day, good people, and welcome to another episode of From Good to Pro podcast, where we are talking to professionals in their respective fields about how their journey has taken them from good to pro. And today we are with an extra special guest, Miss Dr. Angela McGuire. We want to just talk to you a little bit about your journey and how you've gone from just good to pro, but then also just tell us a little bit about what you do and who you are.
Yeah, so thanks for having me on the show. I am a native of Jacksonville, Florida. I'm a wife. I am a mother and grandmother. I'm a tennis enthusiast, love to play tennis and hang out with my little puppy. But for career-wise, I love being in leadership roles and being able to help develop other professionals.
Awesome. Great. So tell us a little bit about how you develop leaders and what you do on a day-to-day basis.
Yeah, so I am what you would call a portfolio worker. I do work full-time, 9 to 5. I am actually a senior leader for an organization here locally. And so I am responsible for about 40 different locations and almost about 250 people. So leadership development has to be something that I enjoy and that I love doing.
For sure.
I also do some consulting work. My company, ISV Consulting, we work with organizations and executives to really help them understand all of the different aspects of leadership and how to become better leaders.
Awesome. Okay. So what are some different aspects of leadership and how can people develop into a leadership role?
Yeah, so I think understanding who you are as a person is probably first and foremost when you're looking at leadership and developing other people. Understanding what your talents are. You know, you can't help develop other people if you don't know what you're good at and what you're good at teaching. I actually had a conversation earlier today with someone about how individuals are sometimes really good at a craft, but that doesn't translate into them being able to train others about their craft or even run a business related to their craft. You could be a really good baker or a really good painter, but that doesn't mean that you are designed to be a business owner. And so just really understanding who you are as a person, what you're good at, what your talents are, and then being able to help develop and show other people how to follow that same path.
That's good. That's really good. When it comes to leadership, what are some things that you see in developing people who aren't necessarily born leaders or really have that natural instinct to lead, and they want to be a leader, but how do they take that next step?
Yeah, I think finding role models, good examples, mentors is absolutely paramount to that journey. When I first started out as a consultant, probably about 15 years ago, individuals would come to me and they would say that they wanted to start a business doing this or that. And my question to them would always be, well, have you done it before? Tell me about the organization where you've done this particular thing. And a lot of times they say, I haven't. That's a big red flag. So if someone comes to me and says, I want to start a nonprofit organization, feeding the hungry and serving the homeless population. You know, one of my first pieces of advice is going to be go to an organization that does that. Practice that skill, learn a little bit more about it, and then determine if that's something that you really want to do. A lot of times, when we're looking, panoramically, when we're looking from far away, it looks like there's something that is easy. It's something that we might want to do. But the good thing about it is that we do have the opportunity to practice these skills before we devote our lives and our investments, our finances into becoming something. And then we realize, you know what, this is not really something that I want to do.
Yeah, and I think that's great. Like, I think college kind of helps develop people into figuring out what they want really in life. I think that some of the misconceptions is you have to go to college already understanding what you want to do. That can kind of be your playground to see, okay, what do I actually love doing? What do I enjoy doing without getting paid at this point? And in those internships and things like that. So, but even if you don't go the college route, you can probably go to a job and learn these different skills. Like when you're at a job, okay, what skills can I learn and pick up here to take me to the next level? So I think that makes total sense.
Yeah.
So what do you do on a daily basis now with like high level leaders? Like what are some things you do with high level?
So I think the biggest thing now with high level leaders, also executives, when we look at executive coaching, a lot of times people feel like, and just like what you said, we start something and we really don't know which path we want to go into. That doesn't just go away. As we evolve as people, as our roles evolve, there are different things that we become good at. There are things that we don't want to, do anymore. And so with executive leaders, it's really, reigniting those passions within them. Sometimes, people will be in a job for decades and they feel like that's the only option that they have, but they know that there's something burning. There's a passion, there's a desire that they have for more, but they don't always know what that is. And that's where we help these executive leaders really figure out where you are now, where you're trying to go, and what's the best path for you to get where you want to go.
That's good. That makes total sense. I just had a conversation with somebody recently, and they were kind of experiencing a little bit of a burnout when it comes to entrepreneurship. They're like, okay, I love what I do, but right now I'm not loving it. And it doesn't feel fulfilling. Is there a sign of they need to take the next step to transitioning to something different, or do they transition to something different within the same industry?
Yeah, so I think that depends on the individual. I think it's very, highly individualized as it relates to executive coaching and leadership. An individual may have a passion for something that they've never encountered. And so that's why exposure is so very important. One of the things I learned when I was getting my master's degree in business was just about research and reading and keeping, really your finger on the pulse of what's happening globally. We have the advent now of AI. We have lots of things related to technology. So a lot of people are trying to get into that field, but that's not something that they're truly passionate about. It just looks like that's where the money is.
Yeah, for sure.
And so when we look at even, things like AI, there are things that you can do in a field such as housekeeping that have to relate, that you can use those tools to make it more efficient for you, but it doesn't mean you have to go out and be the next Steve Jobs. You can still do what you do and love what you do, but also use these efficient technologies that are in place to help you do what you do better.
Absolutely. And I was telling my pastor about AI. I'm like, sir, you just gotta just dip your toe in a little bit. just see how it can help you be more efficient with some of your creative ideas, and even like listing out, just organizing the year, organizing your day.
Yeah.
Really, because he was like, I have to hire an assistant. I'm like, you might have a virtual assistant in your pocket.
Yeah, for sure.
So just kind of explore those things and learn how to use those tools really to help you be more efficient throughout your day.
Yeah, I took a class recently, an AI course at one of the colleges here, and one of the speakers or teachers who was talking about AI talked about it not so much as artificial intelligence, but augmented intelligence. So it's not designed to replace what we're currently doing. It still requires a human touch. It still requires us as human beings to put in a prompt or tell it what we want or put in the data. Yeah. And then these tools actually help us make us more effective and efficient.
That's great. That's great. We talked a little bit earlier today about what servant leadership looks like. Could you talk a little bit about what servant leadership is and really what that looks like and how a servant leader can really operate within their sphere of influence?
Sure. So there's a misconception when it comes to servant leadership that it's about just laying down and allowing everybody to tell you what to do and you just acquiesce to everyone's needs. And that's a bit far from the truth. In terms of servant leadership, we do want to be those people that are open and willing and able to assist other individuals. But that's really the core of leadership itself. It's not about the individual having a title or a position. It's really about them finding out how to best serve the individuals that are in their care, that are in their sphere of influence. So when we look at servant leadership, a big part of that is really understanding your followers, understanding your constituents. And so in order to best serve them, you have to know what their needs are. You have to know what their desires are from a leader. And so that's one of the first steps, understanding who your followers are. I think equally important is authenticity. So as a servant leader, we're required to show up fully who we are each day. And so if we're pretending or we're wearing a mask or we're not sure of our calling, that is doing a big disservice to the individuals who we are called to lead. So I think servant leadership is definitely about knowing your followers and what their needs are, trying to meet those, but also knowing yourself and showing up authentically every day.
That's great, because I think learning how to lead kind of goes within that as well too. Because if you know who your followers are, then you have to learn how to lead those followers. So talk about a little bit why it is important to learn how to lead, even when you're, again, not a natural born leader, but you're, okay, I want to learn how I can get better at this leadership thing.
Yeah, and that can be scary. That can be scary. I love that you said learning how to lead, because that does involve being very introspective and not just on a one-time basis, but consistently. There are conversations that you have to have. There are different people you'll encounter. And so really understanding who you are and how you show up is going to be important to leading those people. I have countless stories of individuals who have come to me for assistance or advice or help, or even employees who report to me. And I have to look at myself. I can't address each person the same way. We know, the golden rule, do unto others as you would have them do unto you. There's also the platinum rule, do unto others as they would have you do unto them. And so we have to first understand what the needs of that individual are, those individuals are, so that we are able to help meet those needs. So it comes with listening. It comes with connection. It comes with, really being vulnerable. I think those are the three biggest things. Listening to understand. I believe it was John Maxwell, may have been Franklin Covey, one of those guys, who said that we should listen to understand. So we understand first before we start responding. So really understanding what the needs of those individuals are. Vulnerability, letting our guard down, letting people know I haven't always been in this role. I don't have it all together. I make mistakes just like you do, but I'm here to help you get to where you need to be. So really building that trust, that connectivity, having that vulnerability, all of those make a great leader who people are willing to follow.
That's great. That's really, really good. Say you're following a bad leader. How do you follow a bad leader, and especially if you innately believe that you could be a better leader? How can you follow a bad leader until, I guess, it's your turn, if that makes sense?
Yeah, I think I hear more stories about people following bad leadership than good leadership, and that's unfortunate. But I think as long as you're learning, as long as you are getting, if you're learning lessons from this person, whether they are good or bad, I think that you are still on top. So even though there may be some bad leadership, some people may say, even now in this country, they may believe that we have bad leadership. But, we're all learning. It's an experience. And I think as long as we can garner something from it, then it's not time wasted. It can be difficult, though. I don't want to make it seem as if, this is an easy thing. If you're getting up every morning and you're going to a job and the person that you work for and work with is just a thorn in your flesh, so it's important for us, again, to know who we are. I was in that situation not long ago. And it was just bad leadership. And I felt bad every day. I felt like I wasn't living up to what my calling was. I felt like I wasn't contributing the way that I needed to. Gotcha. And I was talking to a coach, and the coach asked me a few questions. And one of the things they reminded me of, which I knew, but I just had to have someone tell me, I guess, they said, you have agency. And so when we think about agency, it's the ability to make choices. It's the ability to do what's best for ourselves. And so when they said that, I'm like, well, do I? Because I have to come to this job every day. But taking it a step further, do I really? And so I made choice. I exercised my agency and made choice to leave. And it was the best decision that I ever made. And so, there's an opportunity to learn from a bad leader. There's things that you can garner from them. But at the end of the day, individuals have to exercise agency and do what's best for them. And that's leadership in itself.
I love when you were talking about earlier, when you go from vision to manifestation. What does that mean? Because I love the phrase, and I think innately you kind of understand what that means. But break down a little bit how you guys take vision to manifestation.
Yeah, and so one of the things that we see, when someone starts a business, we always say, "What's your vision statement? What's your mission statement?" We know that the vision statement is, what you want to accomplish, the big, what you want to see in the future. The mission statement is really how you get to that, and so. A lot of times when individuals start a business, they have a big vision. They know there's something that they want to accomplish. But in between that vision and that manifestation, there's strategy. And a lot of time that's what's missing in organizations. We see organizations start over and over again. This person has a lawn care service. This person has an IT company. This person has, they started a new bakery. But do they really know what it takes to get from that big pie in the sky to where they want to be? And I think that's where we have the vision and manifestation, kind of intention there, because a lot of times we see it, and I encourage people to do it. I have vision board parties every year. Dream big. You can do it. You can do whatever you set your mind to. But at the end of the day, if you don't have that strategy and those goals, then, it's going to fall flat, wah, wah, wah. And so, we just want to make sure that individuals are clear as clear as they can be before they get started, that, and they have the steps that they need to take. I am a spiritual woman. And so we know and we hear, if God really showed us what it took for us to get to where he wants us to be, a lot of us would throw in the towel, wave the white flag. Okay, never mind, leave me here. So it's not always going to be clear, but I think you have to have people who have been there, who've done that, who want to show you the way, mentors, leaders, coaches, who can help you step by step to get to that big dream that you hope for your organization and for yourself.
That's awesome. That is awesome. So when you develop your vision, I think the best plan of action is to find the nearest leader's mentor to help you develop the strategy to get to where you're trying to go.
Absolutely.
That makes total sense. So do you feel like you can learn from people outside of your direct path, or would it make more sense, obviously, to follow people who are on that specific path?
Well, I think it depends. If you know someone in your sphere of influence or in your tribe or circle, it's easier sometimes to go to those people for certain individuals. Others, you may want to choose someone that you're not as familiar with, because you may not have that trust. You may feel like they may judge you or laugh at your idea. And so you want to, try and find a coach or someone that's a little bit distant. But really, it's about that mentee or that individual who's looking to strengthen their skills to determine the right individual for them. And so, again, back to that introspection, back to that self-awareness. What is it that I need? Where am I trying to go? And who do I feel is best suited to help get me there?
That's
and
great.
So from that moment, then you start looking for people or organizations or coaches who, check off those boxes so that you can get with that person, learn from that person, and they can help take you to the next level.
I love that. Tell us a little bit about ISV Consulting and how you help develop leaders and how people can get in contact with you.
Absolutely. So ISV Consulting was my vision, my brainchild many years ago. When I first started out, I was what you would call a serial entrepreneur.
Okay.
I had, several different businesses that I started that I considered successful, and people saw that. They would reach out to me and ask for advice or for me to mentor them. And that was really where my desire for leadership and my understanding that I had this leadership ability really came into play. And so with that, we began to assemble a group of individuals who had leadership development skills, who had a knack for certain industries, for certain areas, for certain people. And that's where our consultants really were born. And I wanted to do it that way because as we talked earlier, I might not be everybody's cup of tea, but I do want to make sure that we are able to offer individuals that right fit, that right individual that's able to understand who they are and where they're trying to go and really be able to help them go hand in hand. And so with ISV Consulting, we do leadership development, we do strategic planning, we work with nonprofits and also executive leaders. So we've run the gamut, and we have just learned that, again, no organization is the same as the other. Kind of like fingerprints, no two are the same, no two individuals are the same. So we really take a consultative approach as it relates to bringing on new individuals who want coaching or who want some direction, because we want to make sure that we're a good fit. Once we do that, we really dive deep into understanding what their vision is, but not only what their vision is, how they see manifestation. What does that look like? What does success look like for an organization? And so we're very deliberate about taking on those clients to make sure that we're able to meet their needs by walking together through this process. And that can be a 6-month process. That could be a 1-year process. It just depends on the needs of the individual and the organization. But whatever it is, we're there to commit, to help, to build that trust, build that relationship, and really make sure that we're doing it together.
That's awesome. That's really great. I think a lot of people need guidance, really, like you said, going from that vision to manifestation, because you can get lost kind of in that path, kind of going on your own. Because if you just follow what's on Instagram or follow what's on TikTok, you're getting in all this different information and bringing in all those different gurus, so to speak. If you have somebody that's actually guiding you along the path, of, like a coach, I think that will help you get to your path a lot faster.
Absolutely.
Last question. When did you realize that you were good enough to step into this role of actually teaching, going from vision to manifestation?
Yeah, I think when others showed me that I was. So like I said, I had started businesses, I had started organization. I had no desire to be a leader in that aspect. But then when so many people started to come to me and ask questions, and not just ask me questions, but then I realized I had answers to those questions, then I thought long and hard about whether or not this was something that I wanted to do professionally. And sure enough, it is. I find the greatest joy when I'm able to help an individual or an organization find a solution, because it's not just about them and their livelihood. It's about their passion and them moving to where they need to be. Again, being a spiritual girl, gifts and callings come without repentance. And so we're gifted and we have talent in certain areas, but in order for us to be who God has called us to be, to live fully in that the manifestation of what He's called us to be, sometimes we need a little bit of assistance. And so if I'm able to assist an individual or an organization to be what God has called them to be, Eureka. Wow.
That's a great answer. I don't know. We can end it better than that. Well, I appreciate you being here and hopping on the podcast. I think this information is going to be very helpful to a lot of up and coming leaders for sure too. So, but make sure you like and subscribe on the podcast. Make sure you share this episode with anybody that's willing and able to learn how to be a leader in this next year. So, we'll see you on the next episode from Good to Pro.